Spinach is the most trusted green in Western nutrition. Every smoothie bag and health magazine says the same thing. Spinach means magnesium, but spinach contains a compound that locks its own magnesium before your body can touch it. 5 plants deliver what spinach only promises, and 3 grow without permission. By the end of this video, you will know all 5 and why the supplement industry hopes you never hear their names. Here is what is happening inside every spinach leaf you have ever eaten. Spinach does contain magnesium, about 79 milliliters per 100 grams when cooked. That number is real and it appears on every nutrition label. But spinach also contains extremely high concentrations of oxalic acid, nearly 1,000 milligrams per 100 grams of fresh leaf. Oxalic acid grabs onto minerals like magnesium and calcium before your intestines can absorb them. It forms an insoluble crystal. That crystal passes straight through your digestive system. The magnesium enters your body and leaves your body without ever being used. Imagine swallowing a locked safe. The magnesium is inside, but the lock sealed shut before it ever reached your stomach. Researchers tested this directly. They served 2 groups of people identical meals. One group ate the meal with spinach. The other ate the same meal with kale. Research has shown that the high oxalic acid content in spinach can lead to significantly lower mineral absorption compared to low oxalate greens like kale. The number on the label told one story. The body told a completely different one. And yet every grocery store in every Western country still places spinach at the center of its produce section. The packaging still highlights magnesium content. The smoothie bars still blended into every green drink on the menu. Nobody corrects the label because the label is technically not wrong. It just leaves out the part that matters most. Now consider what this means at scale. Nearly half of all Americans do not consume enough magnesium. Deficiency is connected to muscle cramps, poor sleep, anxiety, weakened bones, and heart problems. People walking through pharmacies in Los Angeles and grocery aisles in London are buying spinach specifically because they believe it will solve these problems. They eat it every morning in their breakfast smoothie. They feel virtuous about the choice. And then they wonder why the cramps come back at night, why the sleep never improves, why the anxiety lingers through the afternoon. The supplement industry built an empire on that gap. Magnesium citrate, magnesium glycinate, magnesium threonate. Every form has a brand name, every brand has a subscription. The magnesium supplement market generates billions of dollars every year. Pharmacy shelves across every American city are stacked with bottles promising to solve the problem. Meanwhile, 5 plants deliver magnesium in forms the body can actually use. Several contain far less oxalic acid than spinach. Several contain more total magnesium. And several have been eaten daily by hundreds of millions of people for centuries. But these plants cannot be patented. They cannot be encapsulated. Some self-seed so aggressively that one planting lasts a decade. A crop that replants itself generates no repeat revenue. A leaf you pick from your yard generates no shipping fees. This is not conspiracy. This is economics. The 5 plants that outperform spinach come from 5 different corners of the world. At least 3 of them are probably growing within walking distance of where you are sitting right now. 5 plants. 5 solutions you have likely been overlooking. The first plant is one you have been taught to fear since childhood. Walk through any forest trail in England or any meadow in the Pacific Northwest of the United States, and you will find it growing along the edges. Touch it with bare skin, and you will feel a sharp sting that can last for hours. Tiny, hollow needles on the leaves inject chemicals that cause swelling and itching on contact. Every parent, in every temperate climate on Earth, has told their children the same thing. Stay away from that plant. The plant is stinging nettle. The thing you were taught to avoid is one of the most mineral-dense greens ever tested. Blanched nettle leaves contain roughly 57 milligrams of magnesium per 100 gram per meter, alongside 481 milligrams of calcium. It is loaded with iron, potassium, and zinc. Its protein content reaches 30% of dry weight. And here is the critical difference. Nettle contains far less oxalic acid than spinach. The magnesium in nettle is not locked behind a wall. Your body can actually absorb it. Growing nettle is almost absurdly simple. It is a perennial. Plant it once and it returns every single spring for years without replanting. It thrives in partial shade and moist soil across zones 3 through 10, which covers nearly every climate in the United States and most of Europe. It spreads by underground runners and colonizes new ground on its own. Many foragers do not even bother planting it. They harvest wild nettle from roadsides, forest edges, and abandoned lots, every February through May, when the young shoots are most tender. 1 minute of blanching in boiling water neutralizes the sting completely. After that, the leaves are soft and mild. Use them exactly as you would spinach. Cook them in a pan with garlic. Blend them into soup. Dry them for tea. Stir them into pesto. Every preparation that works for spinach works better with nettle because the magnesium actually reaches your bloodstream. But nettle requires a little knowledge to handle safely. The next plant requires nothing at all. It is already growing in your yard right now, and you have probably been ripping it out every single summer for your entire adult life. The second plant goes by many names. In India, they call it bathua and sell it at every street market. In Mexico, they call it calites and cook it into everyday meals. Across Europe, it was called fat hen because farmers noticed their chickens grew plump eating it. Most American gardeners call it a weed, lamb's quarters. If you have a garden or even a neglected flower bed, you have almost certainly pulled this plant out of the ground and thrown it in the trash. Consider what you were discarding. 100 grams of lamb's quarters provides more vitamin C than oranges, more vitamin A than carrots, and meaningful amounts of calcium, iron, and magnesium. It is a close relative of quinoa. Its soluble oxalate levels are substantially lower than spinach. Cooking reduces those levels even further. Growing lamb's quarters takes no effort because it grows entirely on its own. It appears in disturbed soil across zones 2 through 11. No fertilizer, no watering schedule, no special care. A single plant can produce up to 75,000 seeds in one season. You do not plant lamb's quarters. You simply stop killing it. Identify it by the distinctive goosefoot-shaped leaves and the white powdery coating on the undersides. Once you recognize it, you will start seeing it everywhere. Garden beds, sidewalk cracks, empty lots. It has been there your entire life. The flavor is mild, even milder than spinach. Cook it with olive oil and garlic. Toss young leaves raw into salads. Blanch and freeze it for winter. In Indian kitchens, bathua is mixed with spices and cooked into saag that families eat every week during the winter months. A recipe that has worked for generations still works today. The third plant on this list was not ignored by accident. It was targeted. An empire tried to erase it from the face of the earth. Before the Spanish arrived in the Americas, the Aztec Empire cultivated a grain that fed millions. Warriors carried it on long campaigns. Priests used it in sacred ceremonies. Farmers grew it across the highlands of central Mexico in fields that stretched to the horizon. The grain was amaranth. And when the conquistadors landed in the 1500s, they did not just conquer the people, they banned the crop, not because the plant was dangerous, but because it was woven into Aztec spiritual life. Destroying the crop meant destroying the culture. For centuries after, amaranth nearly vanished from human agriculture. Now, it is coming back. The numbers explain why. Amaranth grain contains roughly 280 milligrams of magnesium per 100 g. That is more than 3.5 times the magnesium in cooked spinach. It also contains all 9 essential amino acids, making it a complete protein. While amaranth does contain oxalates, most are in insoluble form, which means they pass through the body rather than binding to minerals. The magnesium remains available for absorption. Both the grain and the leaves are edible. Young amaranth leaves work like spinach in soups and stir-fries across India, Africa, and Southeast Asia. The grain cooks into porridge or pops like tiny popcorn. In Mexico, popped amaranth mixed with honey creates a traditional candy called alegría, which means joy. Growing amaranth is straightforward. Direct sow after the last frost in full sun. It tolerates heat, drought, and poor soil. Plants reach 4 to 6 feet tall with dramatic red or gold seed heads that are unmistakable in a garden. Let some seed heads drop at the end of the season, and the plant returns the following year without replanting. It also grows in containers if space is limited. 3 plants from your backyard and from history. The 4th one is even closer. It is in your refrigerator right now, and you almost certainly threw it in the garbage last week. Every time you buy a bunch of beets at the farmer's market or the grocery store, you bring home 2 foods. You eat the root, and you throw away the leaves. Those leaves are beet greens, and they are more nutritious than the beet itself. 1 cup of cooked beet greens provides nearly 100 milligrams of magnesium, along with large amounts of vitamin K, vitamin A, vitamin C, and potassium. But here is what makes beet greens truly special. They have an unusually balanced ratio of calcium to magnesium, roughly 1.6 to 1. Compare that to turnip greens at 6 to 1 or mustard greens at 9 to 1. When calcium and magnesium arrive together in balanced proportions, they work together rather than competing for absorption, and your body gets more of both. Beet greens also carry a lower oxalate to calcium ratio than spinach. The minerals are not locked away. They are available. If you already grow beets, you already grow beet greens. Plant the seeds in early spring or in fall. They tolerate cool weather and partial shade. Harvest the outer leaves throughout the season while the root continues developing underground. You get 2 harvests from 1 seed, 1 above ground, 1 below. Cooking beet greens takes minutes. They wilt quickly in a hot pan with olive oil. Add them to frittatas, pasta, or soups. Young leaves work raw in salads. The stems are edible too. Slice the stems thin and cook them slowly. Nothing goes to waste when you stop treating the tops as trash. 4 plants, your backyard, your history, your refrigerator. But the 5th plant dwarfs them all in sheer global scale. 500 million people eat it every single day, and you have probably never heard its name. In the villages of sub-Saharan Africa, mothers stir a green powder into their children's porridge every morning to prevent malnutrition. In southern India, the leaves of a fast-growing tree are cooked into daily curries that families eat at lunch and dinner. In the Philippines, a soup called tinola features these same leaves simmered with chicken and ginger. Across Central America, farmers grow this tree along fence lines as a living source of nutrition for both their families and their livestock. The tree is Moringa oleifera, and it is one of the most nutrient-dense plants on the planet. Dried moringa leaf powder contains roughly 500 milligrams of magnesium per 100 grams. It provides about 25 grams of complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids. It is rich in calcium, iron, potassium, and vitamins A and C. And critically, moringa leaves contain negligible amounts of the compounds that block mineral absorption in spinach. The magnesium in moringa is not locked away. It is fully accessible. Moringa grows from seed or cutting. In warm climates, zones 9 through 11, it thrives outdoors year-round. The tree grows astonishingly fast, sometimes reaching several feet in a single season. It tolerates drought and poor soil once established. You can cut it back hard, and it regrows rapidly from the stump. In cooler climates, it grows as a potted plant. Bring it indoors for winter and move it back outside when temperatures rise. A single container-grown tree can produce enough fresh leaves for regular harvesting throughout the warm months. Fresh moringa leaves are added to soups, curries, and stir-fries across dozens of countries. Dried leaf powder keeps for months in a sealed jar. Stir it into smoothies, porridge, rice, or tea. In the communities that know moringa best, it is not treated as a supplement or a trend. It is simply food of daily use. Now step back and look at the pattern. Stinging nettle was labeled dangerous. Lamb's quarters was labeled a weed. Amaranth was erased by colonizers. Beet greens were labeled waste. Moringa was locked behind the geography and language barrier. 5 plants, 5 different disguises, but the result was identical every single time. You never heard about them. The supplement aisle stayed full. The backyard stayed untapped. What cannot be patented cannot generate shareholder value. What self-seeds cannot generate repeat seed sales. What grows in a bucket cannot fund a supply chain. No corporation sat in a boardroom and decided to hide these plants, but no corporation funded the research to reveal them either. The patents drove the money. The research followed the money, and the gaps in your knowledge followed the research. Think about the last time you walked through a health food store. You probably passed rows of green powder blends in sleek packaging priced at $40 per container. You probably saw magnesium supplements stacked next to sleep aids and stress relief formulas. You probably walked right past all of it, feeling like the solution to your health was somewhere on those shelves. Meanwhile, the same nutrients sat in the soil outside the parking lot, growing between the cracks in the pavement. Nobody put a price tag on those. Nobody designed a label for them. And that is exactly why you never look down. Now consider what a single backyard can produce across 12 months. In spring, harvest nettle and lamb's quarters as they push through the soil with the first warm days. In summer, pick amaranth greens and beet greens at their peak. Dry moringa leaves from a potted tree year-round, or buy the powder in bulk from any international grocery store. Dry nettle and lamb's quarters in autumn for winter teas and cooking powder. Freeze blanched beet greens for soups through the cold months. Save amaranth seeds for porridge on January mornings. 5 plants, 12 months, a continuous supply of bioavailable magnesium without a single supplement bottle. And the total cost after the first season is effectively zero. For any of these greens that still contain some oxalates, there is one simple technique that reduces them. Blanch or boil briefly and then discard the water. This breaks down soluble oxalates and frees the minerals for absorption. Every culture that has eaten these greens for centuries already knows this. Indian saag recipes blanch greens before frying them in ghee. Stinging nettles require careful handling and a quick boil to neutralize their sting and reduce oxalates. This traditional knowledge ensures they are both peef and nutritious. It was simply never translated into the Western health conversation. The question was never, where do I get magnesium? The question was, who benefits from you not knowing where to get it for free? Now you know. 5 plants. 3 of them grow without permission. 1 is already in your refrigerator. 1 grows on every continent where the sun is strong. The supplements are optional. The backyard is not. The nettle patch you plant this spring will return next spring and the spring after that. The lamb's quarters you stop pulling will drop 75,000 seeds this autumn. The amaranth your children harvest is the same grain that fed an empire 500 years ago. The beet greens you stop throwing away start nourishing your family tonight. The moringa tree on your porch connects you to 500 million people who already understand what Western nutrition is only beginning to learn. This is not gardening. This is inheritance. And every spring, these plants will return to remind you that the most valuable things in life grow without asking and cost nothing at all. If this story changed the way you look at the weeds in your garden, please subscribe and like the channel. We are uncovering the history they tried to bury. Let's plant the future together. The next treasure will be revealed soon.